What were the connections with London? You talked about Assassin.
Yeah, so that's more directly a political connection. So they identified first politically with the Asian group Fundamental, and then they organised concerts and actually showings of La Haine to sort of build a kind of cross-city solidarity around the idea of, that we're experiencing common forms of oppression, so that we should build one way of dealing with those forms of oppression and restriction is to build international solidarity through shared cultural forms, shared cultural language, which is around performance and around film as forms of representation as well.
So that was with Fundamental. Was Asian Dub Foundation? Was that?
They're part of that sort of connection. Absolutely, yeah.
And how did this express itself? Kind of.
So it expresses itself in terms of organising concerts or organising tours, and so you get a kind of meeting of kind of promotional networks, I suppose. I don't know whether the audiences for each group would then meet or connect up in the same way. So we're talking about the level of cultural exchange, the cultural circuits, which music moves along. It's a promotion, touring, cooperating on performances, so guest appearances on each other's work, for example. So you have a guest rapper or guest artist on your album, on one song on your album. So that kind of thing is also going on, and those kind of connections are also then created between French artists and American artists. So KRS One features quite a lot on French productions around the middle 90s, because they see political affinities and political connections that can be made between the politics and social commentary that's going on in American hip hop and in French.
And what would those be in a kind of, if you could, what would those connections be?
So I think that anti-racism is a big theme, and it's felt very acutely in France, I think, in the 90s, because of the rise of an organised political expression for far-right politics. Themes of cultural autonomy. I think French hip-hop perhaps lacks the infrastructure that American hip-hop has managed to develop, its own autonomous structure around labels and fashion labels and designers and graphic artists, and a kind of much more independent, almost autonomous commercial structure. In France, hip-hop has had to rely to a large extent on existing structures in, say, the music industry or the media industry, and that sometimes led to some concern about whether people are selling out or whether there's a recuperation. One of the key features of the music landscape in France is that the state constantly intervenes to sort of regulate performance and production of popular music. So there are quotas that radio stations have to meet in terms of broadcasting a certain percentage of French origins or French originated production. So the commercial radio station Skyrock, for example, took the decision that in order to meet that quota, they'd be better off broadcasting largely hip hop, because they could guarantee enough French hip hop production to more or less meet that quota. Whereas if they were to concentrate on their rock music identity, which is what they started as the name indicates, they couldn't find enough French produced rock music that was acceptable to its audiences. So they made quite a dramatic decision to switch to broadcasting mainly hip hop. But then that creates dilemmas for French artists. Do they want to embrace the naked commerciality of Skyrock as a commercial entity, or do they put those qualms aside and say, right, we'll embrace this opportunity to get our music out to a much wider audience? So there are dilemmas in French hip hop around the cooperation that you require from record labels, from promoters, from concert venues, because those autonomous or semi-autonomous structures, that infrastructure has been much harder to develop, I would say.